In this segment, we're going to talk a bit about waxing classic skis. And this is a slightly more complex subject than the discussion on waxing skating skis. And the reason for that is that we have to apply two different types of wax to classic skis. In the front section here, in the tip, and in the rear section, in the tail here, we'll apply the glide wax just like we applied to the skating skis. So rather than go over that again, if you need to know how to apply glide wax, you can look at the skating ski video. But we'll only apply it to the front section, and we leave the midsection of the ski bare. And this is the area where we have to put a grip wax, often called a kick wax, that allows you to get some traction on the snow and propel yourself down the track. When you get ready to apply the hard wax to the base, the kick zone, the center of the ski, be sure to read the instructions that are given on the tin of wax. It will tell you what it is made for and the temperature and the temperature range that the wax works best in. In general, the colder waxes are harder, and you can see with this wax that I can penetrate the wax surface with my finger, and it's a little bit sticky, but it's fairly hard. When we get wax that's meant for warmer conditions, you can see that it's very soft and gooey like this. And the reason for this is that one of the ways this wax works is that the wax has to adhere lightly to the snow so that you can get a good enough purchase to kick yourself forward down the trail. And in newer, fine-grained, cold snow, the stellar crystals are very sharp and hard, and they will bite into a relatively hard wax like this. But in an older snow that has less sharp stellar crystals and a more rounded shape, the wax needs to be softer so that the crystals could have something to grab onto. So I'm going to show you how right now to put on a blue kick wax. So in the midsection of this ski, you can see that it looks like a different color and texture, and that's because it doesn't have any glide wax on it. If you look at the front of this ski, it's quite shiny and smooth. In the midsection, it looks a little more gray. And if you look very closely at it, you can see that it actually has sanding scratches in it. And it's normal to use 100 grit sandpaper and lightly abrade the midsection of the ski, and that gives this wax something to adhere to. So to apply this stuff, you hold it like a crayon basically and rub it back and forth in the midsection. You can see how some of it's beginning to stick to the plastic base of the ski. And then they make these synthetic corks. And the synthetic cork has been rubbed back and forth on this to smooth out that kick wax. And the first layer we put on there, all it's going to do is really provide a base layer to apply other waxes, other layers on top of. So now we have a little bit of a base layer. We can apply the second layer. And then we cork it smooth. The application of this wax needs to be very, very smooth. If you end up with a lot of people put their wax on really thick like this. This is be a very, very thick wax job. And what that does is it just means you have to rub a lot longer and harder to smooth out all the lumps in it. And you don't want to go skiing with those lumps on the base of the ski because they will freeze to the snow and cause you problems out on the track. So we want to make sure we get this thing very smooth as we can get it. It should be kind of shiny. We want to get rid of all the irregular texture and colors that are in there. So I find it much more effective to put on several light layers like this as opposed to trying to glob on one or two really thick ones. So the trick to effective kick waxing is to have a whole bunch of these guys and for the different temperature ranges and know where they work. The only way you can do that is with experience and going out and skiing on. Now these types of waxes are meant for fresh snow, relatively new snow that has not been through a transformation process. If the snow has been through a melt freeze cycle, in other words, it fell from the sky as fine grained crystals, but then due to rain or sun or just temperature increase, the snow crystals change their shape from a fine grained sharp stellar crystal to more of a granular crystal because of the melting and then refreezing, then you're forced, these waxes no longer work in what's called transformed snow, and you need to go to a klister. But the normal way of applying klister is to open the tube like this, and you generally don't want to put it on top of what we call hard waxes because it won't adhere to the base. It normally needs to go onto a clean based ski. And the way we apply it is by just running a strip of it down each side of the base in the kick zone, just like we put on the hard wax. It's a little bit gooey and sticky. Doing this inside is pretty simple. Then you can take your thumb and just by rubbing your thumb back and forth kind of lightly, you can heat the stuff up and smear it around on the base to get it nice and even. And I usually concentrate on one side of the groove at a time because then, first of all, my thumb's not big enough. And this allows me to cover the whole base with my thumb. Now this klister that I'm putting on there is this brand Swix. This is what they call their universal klister. And my experience is here in the Mettal that this klister, for most of the times when we need klister, this is the kind of klister you're going to want on your skis. So this can save you having to buy several klisters, and often you can get away with just a tube of universal. So now I'll do the other side of the groove. Doing this next to your car in a parking lot is substantially harder because the klister tends to, once it freezes in the tube, it's very hard to get out of the tube and onto the base of the ski. Several tricks in applying klister when you're outdoors or when you arrive at the ski area parking lot is to put the klister on the defroster of your car, of the dashboard. Another is to rest it on top of the radiator till it gets warm enough that you can easily get it out of the tube. Now that we've got this nice and smooth like that, you see how it looks pretty much like the hard wax does, but you can see it a little better. And the reason you can see it in this one is that they've mixed in some really finely ground aluminum. That's what gives it that silver color. So when I hold these classic skis together, it's pretty easy to see that the bases don't match or don't touch here in the center. And this gap is generally what's called the camber of the ski. And you see it's a bit springy. It is like a spring. And the reason for that is that this camber keeps the kick wax off of the snow during most of the glide phase of the stride. And then you have to stomp on the ski pretty hard to flatten it out to get the kick wax to actually grab the snow and let you kick. All skis have a camber to them. The classic skis tend to have a special camber that is much stiffer right in the middle.